So, hi everybody, you're watching The Tech, and today we are prepared for 200% fewer anomalies, 200% fewer weirdnesses, and 100% better performance on this episode of The Tech. Thanks to
And also
nothing.
global thermonuclear war.
We've been at, I've almost said Computex, we've been at PAX all week. My brain is a little bit fried. And I just dropped off Jennifer. She's over running around in the Olympic Peninsula. So she's probably having some fun over there, playing around in the rainforests and stuff while I'm stuck here working for you guys. And then Kane's back home and everything. So it's a bit of fun. Let us know what you guys thought of the coverage. We usually stick to the indie games and the stuff that everyone else does not talk about. So that's what you get. We don't talk about the AAA stuff as much because everyone else is covering it, and I kind of want to shine some lights in some other areas that don't get as much light, you know? Anyway, what's been going on down there, Wendell?
Not really a lot. I've been up to no good with Skylake. We've got a lot of really interesting videos coming up. I'm basically done with the self-hosted solutions, so if you want to get off of Google, basically like the how-tos for doing that, you can set up a Linux box. You got some options. Low cost option or low headache option is you can buy certain Linux based NASs and use a software solution and basically get that going for your email and a Dropbox like functionality and bookmark sync. So you can, it turns out like with Firefox and with Chrome, I haven't figured this out. So if there's a way to do this with Chrome, somebody let me know. But with Firefox, they've got it to where you can actually sync your Firefox bookmarks, not to Mozilla, but to your own server. And so same deal with email. And so you can do all of your self-hosted stuff and all of your email and all of your, cloud email, quote unquote, but it's actually on your box. And so if you want to run encryption, it's fine. If you want to run a VPN tunnel back to a machine on your home network, that's fine too. Also got a how-to guide on Linux with Skylake. Very good performance, very good setup for GPU pass-through. So Linux is great. Linux does all the kinds of stuff that you want it to do. If you want to play Windows games under Linux, you can pass through your GPU, and that works. And that's not really anything new, but I've got a guide and a demo with it with Skylake. It's actually a little tricky to set up with Skylake because of the newness of the hardware, and you need kernel 4.1 or kernel 4.2 to do that. So I've been eyeball deep in doing all that stuff.
Yeah, I just upgraded to Windows 10 on my main rig, and I didn't think I was going to do that very soon. But after we received the news of Microsoft retrofitting Windows 7 and 8.1 with Windows 10's privacy-invading features, as per the headline here on Tech Dirt, I decided, you know what, screw it. I bet it'll be easier to lock down Windows 10 because everyone's going to be moving over to Windows 10. There's going to be more applications made to lock down and block the telemetry, block some of the phoning home stuff. So I went ahead and did it, and I made the video. I'm only covering the basics here, guys, but in this video, the Windows 10, secure your privacy. I forgot what I named the video, but just the basic steps that I'm taking to make sure that Cortana's off and it's not phoning home to Bing all the time and it's not sharing my location data and all that sort of thing. So check that video out. We might make a more advanced version of this video that gets into the registry hacking and stuff, but there are going to be applications that are going to come out, and those will probably do a lot of it with checkboxes to make it nice and easy for us because there's such a demand for it. And I would rather be on Linux, but still I'm stuck with Adobe Premiere, and I haven't had time to learn any other systems, and I'm still stuck with the audio program I use is also FL Studio, which is also a Windows exclusive. So it's kind of sucks. The creative stuff is not really on Linux yet.
It's going to be possible for you to run the Adobe suite under Windows under Linux with GPU acceleration, no problem.
That's right. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about doing now, is doing the pass-through. The pass-through sounds really nice. So
yeah, it actually works really well. No,
and,
it's like you think that's cumbersome, and it's like, I'll have to deal with the display and blah, blah, blah. If you get a 4K display, it's actually really easy. But there's another way that you can do it, which is Steam in-home streaming. And you may be thinking, wait a minute, Steam in-home streaming? Yes. You Steam in-home stream from your Windows VM to your Linux machine. You stream from your machine to your machine. It's fine. It works great. It's crazy.
What demonry is this? Righto then. All right, let's get down to business. And
it's funny.
Go ahead. Well, those videos will be coming up pretty soon from Wendell. So, all right, let's first off talk about a lot of nonsense that's been going on, and I kind of want to direct this to our audience because you guys already know that a lot of the articles out there that you see that are like, in the Boston Globe or on Time Magazine that are like, well, you guys know the data bandwidth caps are the best thing ever and they're really good for the economy. And you guys know that lack of competition, or no, that a different article will be like, there's plenty of competition in the ISP field. What are you talking about? Well, we already know that those guys are just shills for major companies. They work at major companies, getting paid by lobbyists. And now the Boston Globe got caught. So they've come out and said, hey, we're no longer going to let people like John Sununu, whatever his name is. So here's the funny thing. This guy, he used to be a New Hampshire senator. Yeah, John Sununu. He used to be a New Hampshire citizen, a senator. And now he's on the board of directors at Time Warner. And he's been paid $750,000 by to be the honorary co-chair for broadband industry lobbying group Broadband for America. So yeah, he's working for Broadband for America, which is, they always make him sound really good like that. Broadband for America. Yeah. No, that's not what it is. It's broadband through the eyes of the major ISPs. And anyway, he's been writing articles for the Globe, and there's been absolutely no disclosure whatsoever that he is getting paid probably millions of dollars by all these different companies to work for their interests and not the interest of the public. Now, I'm telling you guys this because a lot of the people out there, like your parents, right? They don't know too much about technology. Maybe some of them do. I'm sorry if I offended someone. God forbid you offend someone in 2015. Maybe your grandparents, maybe your brother, sister, uncle. I don't know. Someone out there. They read the articles on the Globe and they take them as fact and truth because they're well written and they make a good point and they're designed to trick your mind into believing the information therein. Well, you guys can now share this because the Boston Globe fessed up and they were like, listen, we're going to be more transparent. You can share this article and be like, this is how the stuff works. So when you read these things, maybe, step back and think, is this really the case? So that it'll be a bit of ammunition to help you help others understand the way things work. There you go.
So the deal here with this guy, from just this one membership on this one board, he's obviously involved in other stuff, but for the one, he's on the board of directors for Time Warner Cable, for the publication stuff for the broadband industry lobbying group. He gets $750,000 for that, and that's just one thing. And this is a senator, used to be a senator. So I mean, politics aside, he's either really corrupt and getting a lot of money, or he's been brainwashed by the industry. One of the two. It's got to be. I mean, this is crazy. This is absolutely, and this is completely how things work. It's just the mind reels.
I usually don't chalk things up to malice when you can chalk them up to stupidity, but he had a history before he became, affiliated. He had a history of being on the other side of this argument. So, now that he's getting, he has a price. Apparently his price was a few $1 million, but now that, he's on the other side of the argument, it's like, okay, well, this one might not be stupid. He might actually be malicious. So, yeah. And also the fact that he wouldn't disclose these things in the articles, that's also, if he was stupid, he would have disclosed, hey, I'm on the board of directors over here at Time Warner. I don't know if that matters for this little article I wrote about how good Time Warner is, but, it should be fine. So the fact that he's not disclosed those things and the Boston Globe didn't disclose those things, it's all shady. All too shady for me. Speaking of shady, Verizon. They spend about $3.50 per year maintaining each landline. That's the copper that's around. So here's the interesting thing about Verizon. They have copper going to millions of people right now. Then they're rolling out their fiber all over the place, but they're not rolling out their fiber where they have existing copper. And they're not maintaining the copper. They're spending almost no money on that. They spent $50.7 billion on upgrading their wireline network and all their fiber and everything, but they only spent about $200 million maintaining their existing copper infrastructure. So a couple of people in the what was it? Were they senators or congressmen? I forget here, but either way, New Jersey and Maryland, Delaware, Pennsylvania, all these different states have been pressuring Verizon, trying to negotiate new contracts, but Verizon, they just don't seem to care about maintaining their copper. I don't know. What do you think they're doing this for, Wendell?
Well, this is not anything specific to Verizon. AT&T is doing the same thing, and in fact, I was dealing with some of the stuff not from Verizon but with AT&T because they've let their they've let their copper infrastructure deteriorate to the point that it was basically impossible for me to have like working phone lines, and out of 100 copper pair, about 4 of them worked. So that's sort of insane. I mean, you think about it, it's like the copper infrastructure. It's like, I need a bunch of phone lines. Great. Where we're going to run the phone lines has 100 copper pair. That should theoretically support 100 phone lines. Yeah, no, about 4 of those pair worked. So, yeah, I mean, it's that bad.
4?
It's 4 pair out of 100. Yeah, it's really bad. And then it was like, all right, screw it. I'm going to get another provider. We're going to go, the PRI route and do digital lines. And then they were like, okay, enjoy your $400 early termination thing. And it's like, but you couldn't even keep the lines that I had working. What? What doesn't even? It's crazy. It's the same MO for Verizon. When they were installing FiOS, they were they've been caught deliberately sabotaging the copper. In Bellevue, where they've got FiOS, I think they're about to be in trouble because there were some federal investigators that were looking around, and if I was reading the report correctly, I just had a chance to look at it. I don't know if it's actually made the internet yet. But when I was looking at the report, these investigators had come to the conclusion that Verizon in Bellevue had not installed FiOS to any new buildings in the last 4 years. The only hookups for FiOS in the last 4 years are places where it had already been built out, and they had not built out any new infrastructure to any new or existing construction in the last 4 years in Bellevue. Now, I don't know. That's not confirmed or anything. I'd love to see the report on that, like the full report on that. I think that's an interim thing, but holy crap. Not even upgrading, and it's like, oh, well, Bellevue's super competitive. We don't want to compete there because there's all these other companies that are doing stuff. But Bellevue's not actually competitive at all. The whole Seattle area is not competitive at all because there are places that are at capacity, and the companies are literally taking the stance that they do not want to upgrade their infrastructure, just go on a waiting list. And it's like, how dumb is that? That is unbelievably dumb.
Yes. Yeah, tell me about it. It's difficult enough to get good internet around here. It's shocking that you see places like North Carolina and then stuff like that. You wouldn't figure that North Carolina would be so far ahead, but they're running 10 gig. I'll go ahead and bring up the article right now. They are running 10 gig to everyone in town. There's a city of Salisbury, North Carolina, and the city runs a local ISP called Fibrant, and they are running 10 gig. Now, you can already get gigabit for $105 a month. Now you're going to be able to get 10 gig for $400 a month. Anybody in the city can have it, whatever. That's fine. And VTEL already did this. VTEL, when I was up in Vermont, they were running gigabit for like $39, $40 a month, somewhere in that range. If you wanted static IP, an extra $10, whatever. There's static IP. You run a server in your basement, just, whatever. They're also doing, they were doing it before Salisbury. I just want to make sure that everyone gets that because, I don't know if they mentioned that. They might have mentioned that. Here it is. They actually mentioned it in the article. So, good job, Ars Technica. But anyway, yeah, they had gigabit. They had gigabit there for $400 a month as well, and pretty much all the VTEL service area. So, if we have places like as remote as Vermont, and then somewhere in the middle of North Carolina, able to get 10 gigabit, where the hell is our 10 gigabit here in Seattle, the information networking technology capital of the Pacific Northwest? Come on, where's our crazy stuff here? I mean, we got condo internet running gigabit around town, but not a lot of options here. It's kind of sad.
I don't know if this is true of other ISPs, but the inside track on Time Warner is that they've basically decided that the days of 100% profit margin, basically, not really, but on an ISP are over. And that is why they are willing to do anything to claw their way out. Like, they think this is peak and they want to sell and they don't care. Like, break up the company and sell. We don't care. There's nobody left to acquire. The FCC is not going to let us do whatever. Break Time Warner's markets into 5 or 6 or 10 pieces or whatever and sell it to regional ISPs because these days are over. It has literally gotten to the point where we have third world internet. Argentina has better internet. Not really, but there are a lot of places on the internet that has better, there are a lot of places in the world that have better internet than America. It's to the point where you've got like one kid in Japan can DDoS like half the eastern seaboard in the United States because the bandwidth disparity is so bad. It's like one pissed off 12-year-old in Tokyo who's like took down the New York Stock Exchange. It's like, well, how did that happen? I don't understand. And it's like, well, when everybody in America is on 128K, this is what happens.
He's got a 10 gig connection right there. I'm curious about this. The cable box. We're going to do an article here on cable box rentals. It's a needless $19 billion industry. But I also want to know about how this is in Europe from our European viewers. So in America here, everybody gets a cable box, and the cable box is a proprietary piece of crap from your service provider that will only work with. It's the only thing that'll work with that service. And then they make you rent the damn thing. It's like a $30 piece of hardware that they make you rent for like $10-20 a month forever. That's it. You've got the box. You want the TV. That's just part of the price. We're just going to take $20-30 a month. So it's a $19 billion industry here. So do you guys have, a cable box that comes from your service provider that you have to use at home, or else nothing works? Now, there's a similar case here, and we can tie this back into the phone market. When AT&T controlled the phones, there was another company. Where's the name of the company here? It was another company that was also trying to make phones. Carter Phone, was that it? And then the FCC was like, you know what? You have to allow these non-AT&T phones to work so long as they do not damage the infrastructure or the line. And so AT&T finally had to let it happen. And then after that, the phone market, tons and tons and tons of innovation, and things changed. And maybe that's somewhere that we are right now with the cable box industry, is if the FCC were to say, listen, you have to make your services compatible with other phones. The article also says maybe you could even turn this into just an app that, your cable provider, like open up the Comcast app on your TV, and there it is. There's all the crap or whatever. I don't know.
I don't really have the words or the time to explain exactly how bad the cable industry is. Like, it is an unbelievable, like, I don't even know how to explain it in terms of something else. If we try a telephone analogy, it kind of makes sense, but it doesn't describe the level of how bad it is. I mean, we could probably have a 30-minute comedy skit about exactly how bad it is. I mean, if you, like, one of the most popular set-top boxes is Motorola. The design for the Motorola set-top box has not changed since 2009. Can you name another technology that hasn't changed at all in 6 years? Like, it's the what you got for a cable box in 2009 is the same as today.
Jesus, even the bow and arrow has changed since 2009. I mean,
so imagine like you remember the old AT&T telephones? They were like 5 pounds. They had there were like 12 buttons on it. It was like a 3x4 row, and it made that very distinctive sound, and it was huge. It's like, all right, think about that phone. It's like, okay, I want a headset with this phone. No, AT&T doesn't do that. You could take the phone, and there was this rubber thing with double stick tape that would stick to the back of the receiver, and then you could wedge that between your shoulder and your ear. That was a headset adapter in that era. Cordless phones? No. Redial? No. Dial from memory? No. Having a directory of stuff on the phone? No. An LCD screen on the phone? No. An answering machine? No. Those are none. Like, you had no choice of device that you could use on the AT&T network. It is exactly like that with cable boxes today. There is no drive for innovation. No one wants to invest anything. If it weren't for like TiVo, there would not be even a DVR thing on a television. If you want to know what the cable television experience should be like, you should go look on YouTube for videos about Popcorn Time. Popcorn Time is like a pirate movie service. It's like a Netflix for any sort of modern content. But if you're a cable subscriber, and especially if you subscribe to HBO and Showtime, imagine the power of your cable box with the DVR function and learning what programs you like. Think about TiVo from 2007. Is your Time Warner set-top box as functional as TiVo from 2007? The answer is no. It's a really half-assed implementation of kind of sort of some stuff from TiVo, but it's god-awful. And that's sort of where we are. And it's because there's nobody, like, you can't, like, Apple was like, we're going to fix this. It's going to be amazing. And then in about 2009, they said, well, this is so messed up that we're just going to scrap everything. This Apple TV thing that we were working on, and, the Apple set-top box, we're going to get out. We're just going to do it on the internet because this industry is so messed up. We just can't even save it. And that's crazy because there's a lot of bandwidth there. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do. I've got a Linux box that is like the ultimate DVR. It's based on Myth TV. And that's how I collected all the episodes of like Star Trek for every episode of Star Trek. And it automatically transcodes the commercials out of it. And it's not great, but it's good enough. Yeah, but that piece of technology would be shot down. It's just not allowed. It's like, oh, this is too good. We want people to suffer a little bit when they watch television. That's how it ought to be. And it's like, wow, really? You run your industry that way? That's how it is. It's great.
Yeah, the skit on South Park is real. Everybody knows which one I'm talking about, I think, but that skit is real. Anyway, I want to hear a ridiculous story. So first off, I'll go ahead with the news here. We'll switch over and talk about Elon Musk and the new Tesla Model 3 it's been announced, but now they've got the the pre-orders coming in March. It's going to be $35,000. And Jennifer and I were driving into the city coming from Bellevue, and we had to do some stuff in Bellevue, and see a car up in front of us, and the license plate said SpaceX, and it was a BMW with no markings. It was a 3 Series, but no numbers or anything on the back. It was just a 3 Series, and it had the Dynon chip, and I was like, we're joking around and we're coming up to the car and I was like, SpaceX. And she was like, yeah, SpaceX. And I'm like, that'd be kind of funny if that was Elon Musk. So we drove up beside him and looked over and it was Elon Musk. So Elon, how are you doing? I know you got something going on in Bellevue, but it was really funny. I'm sorry that Jennifer scared you. We were driving and like, I think she got really excited when she was like, oh my God, it's him. And then she like did this with her hands and everything and looked over. And he like made direct eye contact with her and just kind of like backed away, like slowed down and like blended into some of the traffic behind us. Like, oh shit, someone's going crazy. The snipers are onto me, and they must work for GM or Big Oil or something. They're like, oh shit, there he is. We're a little obvious to be snipers. Anyway, I think she was more excited over the fact that we were just joking about the fact that that's probably Elon Musk, and then we get up there and it's like, no, it's Elon Musk. Cool. But he was driving a 3 Series, and I imagine it was a company car because there's you can go a lot farther in a 3 Series than you can in a Tesla. But also maybe he was doing research. Maybe I don't know. But it was just funny that we saw him over there as we're driving around. Has anybody else had any funny Elon Musk sightings in Bellevue? And can anybody that knows him get me an interview and maybe a free car or two? I'll give him a plug in the tech, So, yeah. You know what? It kind of hit me afterwards. I was thinking maybe we're driving and her freaking out didn't scare him away. But he probably looked over and he was like, oh, shit, it's those weirdos from Tech Syndicate. And maybe that was what it was. And he was like, just like, I'm going to blend into traffic.
Pretty sure we're not even on that radar, but okay.
Nope. Hey, it helps me to think so. It makes me feel good about myself and all the stuff that we've done and all the pain and sweat and blood and tears.
I'm sure that Elon Musk doesn't have anything better to do than listen to a couple of bozos on YouTube.
He's got all the time in the world. Yeah, let's move on here and talk about this story on Yahoo. Oh, I'm just going to mention this. It's a Steve Jobs interview. It's an interview about the Steve Jobs movie coming out. They're talking to Wozniak, and he reminds everyone that Jobs didn't have anything to do with the original design or the code or anything that went into the first couple of Apple products. It was all him. Anyway, moving right along. Oh, let's do a commercial for us. Our new shirt of the month, guys, is Albert Einstein. And there's some secrets. There's always secrets. I like cryptology. Anyway, Albert Einstein and ASCII art. And a lot of this is because you guys asked for it. So there it is. Anyway, we may bring out a few more of these. This was the shirt of the month. And I'm thinking we might bring out a line of some scientists. And then you never know what's going to be in the text. You never know. Anyway, this one, maybe Tesla, maybe Niels Bohr. I don't know, Feynman, what do you think? A few scientists. We'll have a whole line of scientist shirts that you can buy in one chunk by the end of the year for the holidays. So let me know what you guys think of that idea. There he is. Let me get back out of here. How do I use my own damn store? And then of course, we got the mouse pads. Got a mouse coming soon. Got some new backpacks coming soon. But yeah, all kinds of fun stuff in here. If you guys like the content and want to give back and also get back, I think we should use that as a slogan. Give back and give back. Oh, we got polo shirts now, too. A few people in Europe while I was there was like, we have a job that will not allow T-shirts. Could you please give us a polo shirt so that we could, support and also wear this to work? And I was like, yes. And we have very soft polo shirts now, too. I'll have to send you guys some there at the office, Wendell. Just send me a list of how many you guys want, and I'll send them out there. But they're quite comfortable. Anyway, that's the store plug for today. EpicPants.com. Go there, be happy. And yes, this NSA case.
Basically, there's a judge saying, this is obviously not constitutional. Let's take it to the next level. So the situation in America right now is that for those of you that have been, I don't know. I'm probably going to get this wrong, which is really embarrassing. But for America, we have 3 branches of government, and, the executive and the legislative and the judicial branch. Well, the judicial branch.
Fourth branch, the corporate branch.
The corporate branch. No, the corporate branch is like the super branch that's over the other 3. But the judicial branch here, there's a lot of case law now that says the NSA is doing things that are not constitutional. And so before, they were kind of playing this game where it was like, we've got this other sort of cancerous judicial branch, and we're going to say that that's the official judicial branch for these certain matters. And then the real judicial branch was like, wait a minute, that's not actually a real judicial branch. We need to actually look at that and figure that out. And so there's a lot of case law here. And right now things are kind of in flux because Congress is like, well, maybe we kind of sort of want to renew the spying, but we're really worried about the voter fallout from that. And so we kind of don't want to say that we support spying, but we're going to try to backdoor that in through whatever language is possible. Meanwhile, the American people are like, what in the hell is going on? We don't understand. This doesn't even make any sense. What's happening? So there's a judge that's looking at this happening, and he's saying, look, we've got case law, we've got, let's take it to the next level. Let's escalate this situation. It's almost like the situation that you have where you've got a judge and you're not complying with the judge's order. That doesn't immediately result in bad stuff, but then the judge looks at it and says, oh, you're not complying with my order, you're in contempt of court, or we need to, escalate to now you need to be arrested for being in contempt of court, and that is an immediately arrestable offense and things like that. And so he's basically looking at this and saying, there's no way this is constitutional. Damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. We need to escalate this to the next level and bring all this out into the sunlight so that the American people can look at it and be sure that they understand. He's like, I don't know if it is a case where we don't have laws on the books or we don't have, whatever, that's fine, but it's up to the American people to decide and actually, bring it out in the open. We don't need this sort of surreptitious shadow government doing these things in this sort of, shadow judicial system that's like, oh yeah, rubber stamp approval. This is totally making it through the judicial branch, sidestepping the framework of America. That's completely fine. So it'll be interesting to see if this guy gets disappeared or whatever. I mean, not really, that's not going to happen, but I'm sure that this will all be swept under the rug somehow.
I'm telling you right now, the whole intelligence or surveillance industrial complex, all their shooting ranges, guess whose picture is hanging at the end on the target? I bet it is. Anyway, let's go ahead and talk about some banking stuff and some Bitcoin stuff. Barclays, they've been surprisingly progressive. And this guy here is their chief design and digital officer. So they're supporting Bitcoin, but beyond that, they are doing plenty of tests with the blockchain software. They've got 45 experiments going on. They started off with around 22 experiments, and now they've expanded to 45 experiments. So, I mean, the implications here could go in all directions. Barclays could come up with their own digital currency. That's a possibility. That could be one of the experiments they're working on. They could use it for different types of transactions. They could link it back to standard money, whatever. They could use it as I'm not even sure what all they could do with it because they don't go into great detail here. But the fact that they're playing around and experimenting with this, one of the quotes here, we fundamentally believe that the world is shifting from closed architecture to open architecture. Everything is moving to the cloud, closed networks to open networks, closed systems to open systems. So that's pretty interesting. And he's also said that, right here, we've chosen to embrace disruption. So they saw Bitcoin as a disrupting technology, and a lot of the banks have. And Chase has kind of been on the other side of this, where it's like, if you play around with Bitcoin, that's not cool. We're going to close your account. Not at all. Whereas Barclays is saying, like, we've chosen to embrace disruption. We're increasingly becoming a technology financial services company, not a bank with a technology division. So that is going to put them ahead, I think, in the years to come. But who knows exactly where it's going to go. They're already accepting Bitcoin and allowing people who are, running nonprofits and charities to accept Bitcoin. So that's interesting. But I mean, the overall implications here, I don't know. I don't know where it could go. I don't exactly trust Barclays. They're a massive bank. I mean, why would you trust a massive bank? They're driven by money. Anything that's driven by money is usually not. Is usually going to act based upon money instead of the goodness of and the welfare of the regular common man. But I don't know. I want to know what you guys think. What Bitcoin playing around with blockchain, doing tests. Where could this lead? What are the implications? What do you think, Wendell?
Could be the elimination of Visa. So something like blockchain for like credit card transactions could cut Visa, MasterCard completely out of the picture. So that might be nice.
That would be nice. I wonder if it would be cheaper as far as the transactions fee and that sort of thing to the different stores and stuff. That could be very interesting.
Yeah, no, it totally.
Definitely more secure. And it would be a way, way more secure. So that's pretty cool.
Way more auditable. Because we're not real sure that these companies aren't generating money out of thin air, because that's a thing.
I mean, why would they want that, though? Why would they want things to be more auditable? I mean, you look at the blockchain, everything that happens is going to be part of the chain, and you'll be able to take a look and be like, oh, well, here's this transaction, so it'll be a more transparent process with all the money moving around. I don't know, kind of interesting. Let us know what you guys think in the comments, preferably over on our website where we actually read them. All right, let's take a look at something strange the FCC is considering. They're considering a lockdown on the firmware and also the OS on your PC, on your mobile devices, routers, phones. This is weird. Why would they do this? They want to restrict the installation of alternate operating systems. They want to restrict us from using new firmware. What's going on here?
Well, it's a situation. I mean, that has that effect, but I think when they put it together, they weren't intending for that. I think when they put it together, they were intending on having certain rules for manufacturers to lock down their devices where the device is a widget. It's not really a general purpose widget, but it's a widget that has some kind of a radio in it. And the industry is really looking, some industry lobbyists are looking for this because they're going to get in trouble with the FCC because the radios that they're building into their hardware are basically programmable. And so people are able to figure out interesting things to work around them. I'm not sure which industries are lobbying for this. I think the automotive industry is one that is definitely lobbying for this. And so what is happening here that not a lot of people are picking up on is that the way that this is written, so if you buy a router from somewhere, you wouldn't be able to customize the firmware on the router anymore. And that's really bad for us, and that's why we should be up in arms about it and point it out. But in general, this whole thing is a bad idea. The thing this stems from is situations like this, not just this, but also including this. So like automotive manufacturers, are going to pick on them a little bit. They've really been stuffing all kinds of technology into vehicles, and they have no idea what they're doing. Automotive manufacturers might know how to build cars. They know nothing about computers, less than zero. I mean, look, we got Toyota who got the the software for the accelerator wrong, and they were like, no, everything's completely fine with the accelerator. And then it was like, wait, it's this one really bizarre edge case that is really, really unlikely. That's like this memory overflow situation, and debugging that took like $1 gazillion, and it was completely insane. Well, not only that, I mean, that's like at the high level, but at the low level, you've got situations where like the entertainment system in the vehicle can be used to take over the vehicle and cause it to break and things like that. And we talked about that on some other episodes of the tech. But the situation with radios specifically is that there are a lot of radio implementations now that are software-defined radio. And in a couple of weeks, I will probably have a video on the Tech Linux channel that talks a little bit about some fun software-defined radio stuff that you can do as far as receiving goes. So you can buy a receiver that will pick up anything from FM radio, which is a relatively low frequency, all the way up to like DTV, like HDTV, like high definition radio waves, and that is a huge spectrum. Normally, you need physical hardware to isolate certain frequencies, like you need an AM chip and an FM chip, and shortwave and ham radio and police band and the 400 megahertz band and the band that like your garage door opener uses, and the key fob on your car to unlock the doors. So with these software defined radio modules, you can intercept all of that radio traffic, and that's like these hacks on the cars really some of them depend on surreptitiously taking over these kinds of radios and being able to unlock garage doors and things like that. A lot of these communications protocols are not encrypted at all, and so the FCC is saying, well, you know, software defined radio is where it's going to go because that's cheaper than a physical hardware radio, so why don't we try to make it encrypted or locked down or whatever and use as guidelines for this. But the side effect of that is that they're going to lock down a lot and sort of remove consumer choice and blah, blah, blah. The real fix is to get manufacturers to use secure protocols, not just software protocols, but like a hardware implementation protocol. And this is the wild, wild west. We've got Brinks, which is a really amazing safe company, and they're building digital safes, and they didn't disable the USB port on a safe that runs Windows XP. This is the Internet of Things right here. This is a preview of things to come. And so it's like, oh, we're going to put Windows XP on this safe. Oh, we didn't disable the USB port. Oh, you mean if you boot from USB, you can just tell the safe to unlock and it'll unlock? Yes, this is Brinks. Brinks knows what they're doing with safes. They have no idea what they're doing with technology. Every company is like that. Like, there's an intern, Randy, down there who's like, we're going to stuff an iPad in the console of this, SUV, and it's going to be great. And then all of a sudden, a hacker can take over the SUV and cause it to break and do all kinds of things because there's no encryption, there's no passwords, there's no protocols to really lock everything down. And this software-defined radio business is just one tiny little aspect of it, but it is a crazy amount of fun to play with software-defined radio and be able to see all the different types of wireless signals that are around your house and all the different stuff that is using different frequencies. It's a tremendous amount of fun to play with, but it absolutely scares the bejesus out of these manufacturers because they're like, oh, those dirty kids, they went in there and they figured out how to lock our doors on the highway, and we gotta put a stop to that. And it's like, no, you designed hardware that's dumb. Fix it. No, don't shoot the messenger.
Now, what we need to do right now, guys, is you guys can go over here to this website. It's archive.is/lowercase t, uppercase GC, lowercase k, uppercase U. Just go there, and where the link will be in the description. You'll see all the links on our website. Go over here, and you guys can take some action. The instructions are right here. Now, I think it's time to talk about some hardware. There's actually a lot of hardware to talk about this week, more than usual. So if you guys have been waiting for some good hardware, we should have done this last week while Paul's hardware is here. My voice doesn't work anymore. Anyway, let's open up. So we've gone back and forth quite a bit about the whole DirectX 12 stuff, and AMD's actually doing better than Nvidia as far as the boost gained from moving to DirectX 12. And a lot of that is because the Maxwell architecture doesn't really support asynchronous compute. It's not really good at that at all. Some people on some websites have been saying it's because of the drivers. And this whole topic on our forum is pretty interesting. I think that it's not the drivers. I think it's the hardware, and that's my opinion. But we'll see if I'm right in the near future. And I really like this comment from Psycho666, but you guys can go there and read it yourself because it's telling. And I do want to say that I am using the Nvidia 980 Ti, and I've got that in my system. And yeah, so I'm using an Nvidia card, even though I like the path that AMD is taking. I'm using an Nvidia card currently, so not that I won't use an AMD in the future, but
One, really interesting thing with Mantle, DirectX 12, and Nvidia. Right now, the Nvidia driver, for about 34, 35 threads, the Nvidia driver actually performs well in DirectX type benchmarks. For more than 34 threads, the Nvidia performance tanks. So whatever it is, whatever parallelization is happening, whatever, seems to be about 30, 35 threads of things happening. The Nvidia stuff really performs badly past that. For AMD, it seems linearly scalable past 35 to around, well, I mean, I don't know if the upper limit is there, but, 75, 80, 100 is pretty good. That's actually really good for real-time strategy games where you've got multiple units on screen and that sort of thing. But this is super, super preliminary, so we don't really know. Second thing, when I was putting the GPU pass-through video together, Nvidia drivers on Windows have a really interesting behavior. So if I'm running Windows under emulation and I load the driver for the 980 Ti, for example, the drivers bomb out. They crash. Don't work. If I hide the fact that Windows is being virtualized by faking the processor and faking a couple of pieces of hardware in the virtual machine, the NVIDIA driver loads fine. I can't think of a legitimate reason why they would do that. The drivers have in them a kill switch that detect if they're running in a virtualized environment and they exit. If you fake it and you say, oh, you're not running in a virtualized environment, they run fine. It works great. There are no problems. I can't think of a legitimate reason that would be there in the drivers except to hurt people that are running in a virtualization scenario. Maybe to hurt people that are running, desktop class, quote unquote, graphics in a virtualization environment. Because if you're using a Quadro, it doesn't do it on a Quadro. If you've got a Quadro graphics card and you throw it in there, I don't have to add the stuff in there that hides the fact that the Windows instance is virtualized. If you don't have a Quadro, it doesn't do that. It is purely a software thing. I can't think of a legitimate reason why that would be. That's really off-putting.
That doesn't make any sense to me. I'm going to say that I think Nvidia is going to maybe change a few of their philosophies soon. I think it might be time for them to change, just the way they look at open technologies and trying to lock everything down, because they make really fast stuff. But if they were able to loosen up a little bit in those areas, they would be in a much stronger position. That's again an opinion. All right, guys, I want to mention one more. Go ahead.
Well, do we want to talk about the R9 Nano in this same thread? Because AMD's behavior with the R9 Nano is kind of weird. I don't know what's going on with that.
Oh, you mean the fact that they're keeping it from a lot of the reviewers and stuff?
Well, they're keeping it from a lot of reviewers, and it's a Fury, but it's a downclock Fury, but with a smaller heatsink, but it is a Fury, but the price point is still the same price point as a Fury. I don't understand.
Let me see. I've read the article. I'll bring up a picture of the R9 Fury. I think the bottom line with this thing is that it's just so small. It's not going to be as fast, but it's just so small. That's the real selling point there.
It's up to 1 gigahertz, and so it's really just a matter of heat dissipation. If you could dissipate all the heat from that, theoretically it should be as fast as an R9 Fury, but it's not an R9 Fury because it's got a very small heatsink, and so it's great for an ITX system because it's really, really tiny. But the price point seems kind of high, and the performance is obviously not going to be as good as a Fury or Fury X.
Yeah.
But
I feel like even if you're running it and it's a little bit slower than an R9 Fury X, the fact that it's so small, people are going to be willing to pay a premium to be able to fit it into a PCTU 100 from Lee & Lee or an equivalent really small form factor ITX rig, and it's going to be that's like the fastest card in its size in that size. It's faster than the 970 with the ITX 970 that one of the companies makes. It's faster than those cards. So yeah.
The Linux drivers for the Fury are disappointingly bad, which makes me sad. I've been having good luck out of the Asus Strix 390X under Linux. It works great. It's awesome. And actually, that was one of the things with the emulation. So it's a pain in the ass to boot Windows. That card's UEFI, and I've got UEFI going in my KVM virtual machine, which means I can boot Windows from nothing in about 2 seconds. Because I can do the fast boot and UEFI and all that, and so being able to start and shut down Windows in like 2 seconds under Linux really changes the dynamic of using the virtual machine under Linux. It's like, oh, I need to run this one program. Click 1, 2. Okay, I'm in.
Let's talk about some more gaming hardware, shall we? Let's take a look at this Lenovo They have a whole line of PC gaming stuff. They're actually going to jump into the PC gaming market or back into the PC gaming market. And I'm going to be unnecessarily harsh on Lenovo right now because of all the shenanigans they pulled with their, their rootkits and their spyware and all that crap that they installed on their laptops. I would be very careful about buying these because you never know what they're going to install on these desktops. And I think that Lenovo thinks that everyone is stupid. Here's why. If you look at all their stuff here, it's just the typical crap that you would expect. Big plasticky gaming rigs. I mean, a lot of people like this, but it's not pro and it's not sleek in my opinion. But that's fine. The case is neither here nor there. What I wanted to point out was that they have a headset coming out and also a mouse, and both of those are going to be the typical gimmicky, simulated surround for the headset. There you go. That's what gamers want, right? They want surround sound. No, the educated gamers should maybe not want surround sound. And then we also have the mouse, which is going to be actually it looks like a pretty good sensor. 8200 DPI, probably an Avago 9800, or a PixArt 9800, or whatever it is. But that's still a laser sensor versus an infrared sensor. I mean, if they wanted to go hardcore, they would have made a really good set of headphones. And I think I'm just being unnecessarily harsh, like I said, guys. But if you guys think it's sexy and beautiful and you want to buy them, then go ahead and buy them. But I will not support this company, thanks to all their shenanigans. Yeah, I guess the case doesn't look that bad. I just wanted to be mean.
I picked up, there was one of the Lenovo i5 4200Us. It was on sale. It was like $450. I was like, I'll pick that up. Yeah, it totally came with the Superfish still. It's like, a year later? And it's still, it's we got rid of that. That's not on there. We don't know what's going on. Yeah, no, it's still on there.
Yeah.
Womp womp.
Speaking of gaming hardware,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, if you can figure out a way to get rid of the damn thing and make sure that it doesn't come back even from fresh installs, then yeah.
Linux for the win.
There you go. Let's see you install that crap on Linux then. Look, here, this is pretty cool. So Asus has launched, the GX 700. This laptop has a giant water cooling unit on the back because it's going to get so warm, but that's because it's ridiculously powerful. It's got a 4K display. And, it also has G-Sync and a whole bunch of other fancy things. But yeah, a giant water cooling unit that clips onto the back right here. Let me get a load of that massive thing. That's, I don't think this is portable any longer. I mean, what do you have to have a suitcase to carry this thing around? It's going to be, I think this would be good for LAN parties, maybe. Maybe I'll take it with me to an XPDX or something just to try it out. If we have any friends left at Asus. That'd be nice. Let me borrow one.
It's powered by an overclockable quad-core Skylake Intel K-series processor. As far as I know, the only K-series processors are desktop processors. Has Skylake really gotten to the point where we can shove a desktop processor in a laptop? Because that would explain the water cooling.
Yeah, that would. I mean, most of the mobile GPUs, a desktop GPU is going to be way too big to fit inside there. And the mobile GPUs are usually like half as fast and are designed, for the cooling capacity of a laptop. But if you did put a desktop, CPU in there, that's what you're going to need. But for gaming, I don't think the CPU matters as much as the GPU. So I don't know how important this extra, it'll surely give you a bit of a boost, but not an extreme amount of boost versus the extra price that you're going to pay. So you'll pay a premium to get, the next 10% worth of performance. That's
graphics card and a PCI Express dock. MSI has got it. I think that works.
Yeah, that's freaking amazing, actually. That MSI, I forgot the name of it, and they're going to watch this video and cry. But yeah, that's where it's at right there. What's next on the old list here? That's the Radeon Nano. All right, Intel shaking up the global semiconductor market by putting RAM right on the die? Surely not. Why would they do this? So I'll let you take over this one. This one's pretty interesting.
So this might be an interesting thing. The situation is, it's really complicated, and I'm not really sure that this explanation will really do really explain the situation in a way that really covers all the nuance and stuff. Intel is dependent on Hynix and Samsung for DRAM and DRAM performance, and it is to the point where a lot of the performance gains are going to be dependent on memory latency and memory bandwidth. DDR4 did not really improve that much over DDR3. I mean, I've been testing a DDR4 3200 kit that we're going to have a review of before too long. It's a really nice Corsair kit. It is amazing. In the benchmarks, the difference between DDR4 2133 and DDR4 3200, really not a lot. There are a couple of actually developmental workloads, and so like just the normal gaming benchmarks and stuff like that, not really a lot of difference. I was really surprised because it's my Linux box that I'm doing the testing on. I was really surprised that doing some benchmarks with Redis, which is a key value pair store, was significantly faster, insanely faster, as a matter of fact, at DDR4 3200 versus DDR4 2133. But most other workloads weren't really all that much faster. So what Intel is doing that's shaking up the industry, maybe a little bit, is on some of these Skylake parts, they're using EDRAM, or embedded DRAM, 64 or 128 meg, depending on what Skylake part it is. And really that's going to help graphics performance more than anything, and it's going to help reduce the bottleneck between system memory and the CPU. Right now, Intel, their reasoning is that one of the reasons, like the A8, so they've been working on mobile as well, and we talked a little bit about how the Asus Zenfone 2 has an x86 processor, and Intel's actually got a viable processor for something in like a phone's power requirements, which is crazy. Quad-core x86 on a phone, that seems insane. That's it hasn't been that good since 1993, and so the situation is that Intel's looking at this, and they're looking at what Samsung is doing with Apple, and their processors have SRAM for caching, and that really helps speed things up, and that really helps the graphics performance. And so Intel wants the embedded performance. They want to capture that market. They're not really worried about people that have an external GPU for now. And so there are some Skylake parts now that have embedded DRAM, and that's going to dramatically improve the situation because the memory bandwidth hasn't improved that much with DDR4, and the latency is still an issue. The memory latency is as much of an issue versus, I mean, with DDR4 you do have higher bandwidth, but the latency of getting stuff from the CPU, like getting the CPU sends a command and then the memory has to send whatever the CPU asks for back. Just the overall latency there is pretty crazy. But having an extra 128 megs of cache memory on the CPU, not exactly cache memory because it's kind of for the embedded display more than anything, is really going to boost performance. And so this article talks a little bit about that, and it talks a little bit about how Hynix are not real happy about Intel doing that. And so, you know, the HBM, where they're moving the graphics memory actually onto the die, is sort of, you know, graphics memory is faster even than system memory. And so what does it tell you that with DDR4, you know, GDDR5 faster than DDR4, and with GDDR5, they're starting to say, well, you know, having the memory chip right outside the GPU on like a GPU, that's too slow. We need to move to an HBM setup, and Nvidia is moving to an HBM setup for their next couple of generations of cards. Maybe not the next one, but the one after that, or maybe it's going to be the next one. I don't know. It's not really been confirmed.
If there's availability.
Yeah. So the HBM is where it's at on the GPU side, and the GPU side depends a lot on memory bandwidth. And so here we have Intel basically doing a stopgap measure because DDR4 is not doing it. And of course, in a mobile market with iPhones and iPads and tablets and things like that, you want to do that anyway. You want to combine as much stuff as possible because you physically don't have the room. And hey, if you can combine a bunch of silicon into one package, you're going to save that much more room manufacturing, which is really important for the miniaturization process. And so Samsung and Hynix are going to be sort of bothered by what Intel is doing here, but it's good for us as the consumer that they're doing that, and it's good because we may see improved performance, even though we don't really have a lot of really latency improvements on the DDR4 side of things. But this chips with EDRAM are not going to be available in desktop chips, or at least socketed desktop chips. They're probably going to be in tablets mainly. So we may see, I really want to get my hands on a system that uses one of these and test it, and especially test it with OpenCL workloads and test it with Linux workloads. Because just the difference, like on the Cherry Trail stuff, the difference from going from single channel RAM to dual channel RAM made the difference between being able to play 4K video and not being able to play 4K video. And so EDRAM is going to be even faster than that. So this is going to be interesting.
And other Intel news here, we've got Intel, they're pledging $50 million in quantum computing. So they're going to be throwing $50 million at that. And, you know, to put that into perspective, that's a good amount of money. They are also putting $60 million into drone technology, but they don't want to be behind the curve, and they feel like quantum computing is going to be a big part of the future of computing. I mean, the amount of math, it'd be the best math coprocessor ever. I'm not sure if they're working on it specifically for that, but, you know, who knows what's going to come of this, so I'm not really going to spend too much time on it, but it's still about 10 years off before we'll probably see something like this that the consumer can use, and it'll probably be in the form of a coprocessor, but that's just, you know, my musings.
You know, not really on this, but one interesting thing, Skylake added a DSP for voice processing, which is really interesting, in hardware. And so this is all about, it's like, oh, quantum physics, and we're investing in drones. It's all about signal processing, artificial intelligence, and very advanced algorithms that need to run very fast.
Well, I mean, that's the future of everything, really, is our artificial intelligence. And we're going to get to that when we get toward the end of the hardware segment, into the science segment, and I'm kind of looking forward to talking about that. But first off, quick mention on the Sony Xperia Z5. It's the first thing that I've seen with 806 PPI. That's ridiculous. 4K display. And, you know, one of the things I like about the Sonys, the quality of the cameras. Most of the good cameras out there on the market, as far as the phones go, are using a Sony sensor. So I'm looking forward to this phone because I think it's going to have a good camera. Should have a pretty decent experience. They're probably going to move it to Android M as well. And then there's smaller versions for you guys out there, but it also will work with an SD card. So, and the battery life on the big guys, I think around 3,200, 3,400, somewhere in that range. So yeah. All right, moving right along then. Just wanted to give that one a quick shout. Let's take a look at what they're doing in China with the MIPS64 processor. It's a Loongson processor. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right or not, but just a quick mention because they have a processor over there that through the stuff that they've developed will actually work with x86 code, and it'll also work with ARM stuff. It's not incredibly fast. It's slightly faster than the AMD FX 3200 in some tests, but you know, it's not quite as fast in other tests, depending on, I mean, it's not even as fast as the i5 in some tests, but who knows? I think it's kind of interesting. Here's a laptop built. I get the thing is that this is something that will be in the consumer market. You'll see laptops with this that will run x86 code. You'll see possibly some low power desktops. And the other thing that's crazy about this is all that it only uses around 30 watts. So these are extremely efficient, and they'll work with ARM or they'll work with x86 stuff. Pretty interesting that, you know, there's some stuff coming out of China. I'm not sure if it's posed a threat to any of the powers that be just yet, but they probably could if they wanted to.
MIPS was almost also a contender for mobile devices. There were quite a few devices, especially early generation, like some of the first generation, second generation smartphones that were based on MIPS processors. The thing here is that this thing is going to be based on an architecture that allows scalability for up to 384 cores. And so that's going to work really well for applications involving like video processing, so like drones and routers. Anything that's like that is going to be really, really scalable. So it's really interesting that this is basically, it's not a first-gen product because MIPS, but it's really interesting that they're able to get something that is so fast. One thing that I missed from the article was what lithography process this is. Because if they're doing this in 30 watts, 28 nanometers?
Yeah.
28 nanometers is kind of impressive that it's only 30 watts, but for where they are with this right now in terms of the performance. So
yeah, 192 gigaflops of peak performance at only 30 watts. So that's pretty nice for a 28 nanometer manufacturing process thing.
Well, I mean, compare that to the 8320, which is what, 75, 90 watts?
Yeah. Yeah.
150 watts, depending on what day of the week it is.
Yeah, pretty epic. And then it's also able to keep up in similar tests. I mean, these are all tests that are internal. I'm not sure if anyone's done any tests in the real world yet, but it'd be interesting to see that. All right, let's talk about science and philosophy at the same time right now. So, article's entitled "Don't Worry, Smart Machines Will Take Us With Them," and this is from someone who's into theoretical physics, and I forget the name, Stephen. How do you say HSE? Hugh? Sue? I don't know how to say that.
Sue.
I'm terrible. Sue, Stephen Sue. Anyway, so I'm not going to go into the big parts of the article here. You guys can read that, and I encourage you to do so. But the bottom line here is the thing that's going to get in the way are morals. Because one of the things we're not thinking about is, what we're going to be able to create an entity that is smarter than us and more capable than us. But at the same time, as our knowledge progresses and as our skills progress and as we learn new things and make new discoveries, we're going to be able to biologically hack humanity. And in doing so, we may be able to create humans. We may be able to, make us way smarter. Can you imagine humans with 1,000 IQ? Well, that's something in the article they talk about. And the artificial intelligence can help us get there. So once we create something this smart, we will start evolving together with them, since they'll be able to, impart to us, they'll be able to, I guess, help us sequence our genes. That's kind of a weird thing. And really, like, the only barrier is going to be the moral issue. Because it's going to be weird to people to mess with embryos and that sort of thing, or mess with our DNA and mess with our genetics. The other thing that's going to be interesting about this,
we're going to go straight to people, though. I think that's the thing the article leaves out, is that it's not going to be happening with people overnight. I mean, it kind of already is with genetic diseases and things like that. People can be quote unquote vaccinated in the womb, and we're doing a lot of really cool, interesting things like that. And so far, that has not ended badly. But before this happens, we're going to get a genetically engineered cow that has like 1,000 legs, and it's going to be the most delicious cow ever, and that will be the Centicow. And when we have the Centicow, then we have to worry about this. But until we have the Centicow, I don't think it's a real threat.
Well, we're going to have to deal with the entire, Hollywood, but more specifically, the reality TV show lobby is going to be very against this. Because once we engineer really smart people, nobody's going to be watching that shit anymore. Not at all. Speaking of stuff that you should maybe watch, let's move on to this next thing here. This could be a totally separate topic, because there are so many different implications, and it's also a new way to look at the future of our civilization. So we may have to save this for a longer, more thought out conversation, and actually sit down and talk to some theoretical physicists, which we may do more of in the future, being able to sit down and talk to people who are more knowledgeable than us in certain areas. So anyway, let's take a look at this. Does anybody want gladiator battles with armor that can tell you, hey, this guy took damage to his head, he's dead. So we have a samurai and a ninja here fighting with this giant, cumbersome, extremely absorbent armor that's been developed here. But I want to know, does anybody want this? Anybody want to watch these gladiator battles? My problem is that we have a ninja and a samurai here, but the armor is just, it's so clunky that they almost lose all the finesse, and it looks like an American bar fight. People flailing stuff around. I know there's some skill happening here, but that's my take on it.
We had some software-defined radio to hack in there and take over.
Somebody in the audience pressing buttons on their phone, messing them up. Like, oh. So yeah, it looks very clunky to me. But I think it's not gonna supplant the MMA and all that stuff where people are actually bleeding. I think people like watching blood. I think people would watch actual gladiator combat at this stage. Like, yeah, put them in the ring, let them kill each other. We'll watch it. Yeah, let's do it. I mean, we are the new Rome, are we not? All right, let's talk about some video game stuff. There's a Mega Man movie in the works at Fox. I cannot imagine how silly that's going to be. Or how because they're either going to go one or two ways. They're either going to have to make it really, really silly and cartoony and campy and whatever. Or they're going to try to be overtly serious with it, like they do with some of the most ridiculous comic books where they're like, this is really serious and real and all those things. This summer, Mega Man is back with more bad guys than you can shake your whatever the fuck his thing that he shoots with at. I don't know. I don't know. Think it's going to be silly, or are you going to get in line for it?
I think it's going to... Okay, so what you need to do is you need to go to IMDb, look up the Super Mario Brothers movie, and then imagine that with Michael Bay special effects, and that's exactly what it's going to be. There's going to be some sort of faux moral dilemma in there, like, should I build a robot boy to save the world or whatever? And it's just going to be like, oh yeah, no, you totally... Oh, Mega Man!
I'm not looking forward to this at all, but I am looking forward to some of the new Mega Man games coming out, like 20X.
Maybe it'll be like, the
20X.
Yakuza built the evil robots or something. That'd be pretty funny.
We need the Mega Man. I don't even know. They're gonna ruin it, but they're probably just gonna ignore the video game plot and ruin it anyway. What's this here? Oh yeah, QuakeCon has already been announced. QuakeCon 2016 has already been announced, and we already have people on the forums planning for the Tech Syndicate booth. Look at this. They're planning out because last year the banner was a little droopy in the middle. I thought it was freaking awesome, but these guys are already designing. If we can do this sort of a system using some eye hooks and zip ties around the edges here to make sure that the banner is nice and taut and looks professional. That's freaking awesome. You guys, our communities, we have the best community on the internet. That's all there is to it. We have the best community on the internet, and if you don't like it, well, then go somewhere
Except
else.
for the crazy ones.
But we take care of those guys. And it's gotten the website. Have you noticed that the website has been more active since we got rid of some of the most active people who were also somewhat trolling? But yeah, get rid of some. It's weird. Now there's room for growth. So yeah, that's awesome. Oh, got to enter my birthday for QuakeCon. So I'm not sure how many people we're going to see at QuakeCon. Also, a soft announcement is that we're going to do a LAN party at some time. Somewhere, someplace, and hopefully you guys will come. But yeah, that would be awesome to see all you guys there. We haven't finalized any of the details yet, but it's going to happen. So
maybe I'll bring my robots. We'll see. It's hard to get airline tickets for those anymore. The first time I flew with one of the robots, it was just like the people at the airport were like, "What is that? What are you doing?" And it's like, "Well, it's a robot, and we're going to this place, and there's going to be some stuff." I was in college though, and it was before 9/11, and I had my toolbox, and they were like, is that a carry-on? And I was like, well, you could pink tag it, I guess, but it's a toolbox, so I mean, I opened it up, and it was like butane soldering iron, extra butane, like fastener clips, all kinds of knives, and just all manner of tools, electric drill, about 17 pounds of lithium-ion batteries. About 70 pounds of lithium-ion batteries in the robot, and the airline was like, yeah, this is fine. We can make this work. I was like, what in the hell's going on? It's like college student robotics. Fun things are happening, and they're like, oh, okay, that's probably all right. You're not going to play with any of this stuff on the airplane, are you? I was like, nope. And they're like, okay, sounds good. And then 9/11 happened, and I haven't been able to fly with a pair of scissors since.
Kane's pretty good at getting stuff. I can't say these things on the video. Check this game out here. We've looked at this before, but SOMA is the upcoming game from the same guys that brought us the Penumbra games and Amnesia. And this is just an environmental trailer here that they are showing off. And I really want this. One of the first comments here I'm seeing down here. By the way, this plugin that I have, see this plugin here on YouTube? This is a plugin for Chrome, and it basically removes those filthy, dirty, rotten YouTube comments and replaces them with the most recent post of this on Reddit. So you have the Reddit comments that go there. And we have a Tech Syndicate subreddit, and all of our stuff gets automatically posted there, or usually gets automatically posted there. So if you guys go there and comment, that's where I'll see them, and I think that the people there are probably going to be a little bit more intelligent and worthy of viewing. Or you can just go to our website and comment. Anyway, this game's looking pretty interesting, and I'm just looking forward to it. I really want to see this with the HTC Vive. That would be cool. A demo of this. The HTC Vive was the coolest. Well, the second coolest thing at PAX. But yeah, I really want to see this with VR. Not many things I want to see with VR, but that I do. So yeah. That's pretty much it for the day. I don't know. Plug the store again. That's what I'll do. There it is. Don't forget to get your store stuff. More ASCII art shirts coming too. Did I mention that? Yeah, I did. All right, that's pretty much it. But I'm also more video game ASCII arts. Like we have Deus Ex and Shodan coming soon. And those will be awesome. All right, so I guess we'll see you guys in the next few days. We have a lot of stuff coming up. I've got to catch up on my emails, and Wendell has plenty of interesting videos coming up as well. So be sure you guys watch all the PAX footage. Like we, if you don't care about indie games, whatever. But if you do like indie games, and we don't talk about a lot of, like I said, the AAA stuff, go back and take a look at them. You might end up finding something that you didn't know that you wanted to play. So have a look at those videos, check out some of those games, and we'll see you guys in the comments.